Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Sunday services at Center for Spiritual Living, Denver. We are a loving and prospering community in the heart of Denver and online. We now conduct hybrid services at the historic Grant Avenue Community Center and Sacred Place, located at 216 South Grant Street, Denver, Colorado. All are welcomed here. A place, space, and face of love. We are a spiritual community practicing universal principles that enrich our lives. We are grateful that you have blessed us with your presence. While online, we'd love to know you're watching with us. Feel free to leave a comment and let everyone appreciate you. With everything going on, life can feel overwhelming. CSL Denver wants you to know we are here for you. Please know that our practitioners are available for personal prayer work. Our licensed spiritual practitioners' names and phone numbers are available on our website at csldenver.org. Or if you have a prayer request, feel free to email it to info@csldenver.org. For your convenience, you'll find clickable links in the description of this broadcast. Rev Zia, along with all our guest speakers, practitioners, service coordinators, and musical inspirations, want you to know how truly grateful we are that you are with us today. Thank you for your continued support and participation in our services, workshops, and events, as well as providing financial contributions to our center. If you're interested in upcoming events and information, we send out weekly newsletters. Sign up by visiting www.csldenver.org. We deliver services in a hybrid format where we meet in person at 216 South Grant Street. We will also continue to live stream all services on Facebook and YouTube every Sunday. Find us on our respective channels as well as on New Thought Media Network. Again, thank you for your precious attention. Now prepare for engaging enlightenment.
There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows, a beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden. That garden is you. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden. That garden is you. Such a beautiful garden. That garden is you.
Good morning. I'm Alice Nutter, a practitioner here at Center for Spiritual Living, Denver. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to see everybody. My reading this morning comes from an old Hindu legend. According to an old Hindu legend, there was once a time when all human beings were gods, but they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from them and hide it where it could never be found. Where to hide their divinity was the question. So Brahma called a council of the gods to help him decide. Let's bury it deep in the earth, said the gods. But Brahma answered, no, that will not do, because humans will dig into the earth and find it. Then the gods said, well, let's sink it in the deepest ocean. But Brahma said, no, not there, for they will learn to dive into the ocean and will find it. Then the gods said, let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and hide it there. But once again, Brahma replied, no, that will not do either, because they will eventually climb every mountain and once again take up their divinity. Then the gods gave up and said, we do not know where to hide it, because it seems that there is no place on earth or in the sea that human beings will not eventually find. Brahma thought for a long time and then said, here is what we will do. We will hide their divinity deep in the center of their own being, for humans will never think to look for it there. All the gods agreed that this was the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And since that time, humans have been going up and down the earth, digging, diving, climbing, and exploring, searching for something already within themselves. And our quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, from this book, the book, This Thing Called You, you are to take a more direct and simple path from your intellect to your true self. You are to become a simple and direct soul. The answer is not in any book, but in yourself. You are guided by love, inspired by truth, and your future will be what you make it. And so it is. And now let's have Jeff King.
Good morning again, folks. I have a song for us today that goes back to around 1993 when I was first getting involved with religious science, and the song became the title track to my first all original CD. This is called This One Life. I spent a lifetime on a journey, searching for purpose in my day, chasing the shadows of illusion, searching for answers in 1,000 different ways. I keep waiting for my ship to come in, but I am the captain here and no one else can steer this one life. They say that life is what you make it. It's in the playing of the cards. It is the race and not the finish that always yields the best reward. We should be reaching for the moment, not just grasping at the air. We are the message, there is none so rare as this one life. This one life. Love will bring you love. I hear the calling of the heart inside my soul, sending a message to the vessel. We're all a part of the whole. We are one being and one spirit, universal man and wife. The power is in each of us to make the most of this one life. This one life. Oh, this one life. I know a smile and a touch to me can mean so much in this one life. Respect your neighbor as your brother, a feeling like no other in this one life. With help from the guiding hand, we all can make a stand in this one life. With love from you and from me, peace will be our destiny in this one life. In this one life.
Good morning. For those of you who haven't been here before, I don't know, I'm Reverend Rita Foster, and I'm privileged to be a longtime friend of this community. And I always am so pleased to be invited. Except this time, I might say that with a little reservation, talking about this topic, which is really soul. And as was so beautifully committed in the legend of the Hindus, it is within, can only be found within. And so it's much easier to teach principles and to talk about principles They're of the intellect and concrete. But working with how do we talk to each other about engaging our soul is much more difficult as it is even for us in our everyday lives. So I have pestered my colleagues all week with trying to find, the right way to do that. So what I know is true for all of us is, as Emma Curtis Hopkins, the great mystic, said, we only know what we teach ourselves. And one of the faculties of the soul is to grab, experiences, ideas, images that feed your soul. So whenever you're, in like now in this talk, you may take one thing from it and not hear anything else. You may take nothing and not hear anything else. But it's the faculty of our soul to engage in an experience and take what we need from that. And so it is a little challenging to deal with that area. And as we take wisdom from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, he says, it seems that man exists for the purpose of self-expression. There appears to be no other reason or excuse for his being. The infinite has already implanted within man the instinctive intuition, which is the spiritual knowledge of good, of himself, of the world around him, and his whole growth results from that inner awakening. So that is true. And we're always privileged to have a good foundation of our principles or any of our religious upbringing and training, because that's the realm from which the soul draws its experience. So in the kind of material provided, suggested outline for this talk, there is the question that represents the natural and deep curiosity of each of us. So we're going to use that as a sort of starting place. And as we go through, this time together experience, we're going to work from both the third dimension and the fourth dimension where our soul lives. And so it seems like it's out there, it probably is. So the suggested question, and I'd invite you to just take some time, just pause and go within yourself and listen to this question. And it is a universal question, and see how you experience it. So the question is, what is my reason for being? And as we experience that, often we experience it from our third dimensional mind, our rational mind, which is the one that keeps climbing up and down, digging in the ocean. What our mind usually tries to do is bring out some noble idea or thought or gift we have or something we could be, because our rational mind is linear. It likes to know the answer. And to that question, there is no answer. So, we find that that's the way that we often perceive all questions related to our deeper inner growth. So if you think about that, we know that the soul does not belong to the intellect. So the question cannot be answered by the intellect, only by the soul. And it's like through all of our study or just our pondering, we can say we know about God. That's our intellect. But can we say we know God? That's our soul. Can we say we know the nature of our being, that we're divine beings, that we're surrounded by an atmosphere that wants us to experience the most of life? but can we say we've experienced it? And so that's what all of this, works toward. When we have curiosity, which is the center theme for this week, curiosity comes from a spark in the kingdom of heaven, and it's maybe called inspiration, maybe called intuition. It usually comes when you're not thinking about anything. You're just kind of pondering, meandering. For a lot of us, it might be when we're gardening, when we're cooking, when we're walking. And it's when our rational mind isn't trying to filter what we know. And so that's usually where our curiosity comes from. And as Dr. Holmes would say in many of the just little short, phrases we always remember, is love points the way and the law makes it possible. So in our foundation, in our science of mind principles, we know how the universe works in its cosmic laws, as its nature in relation to us. And so we know that when love or our intuition or inspiration points the way, the law comes in and does what needs to be done for that to manifest. And so our principles serve us well, as do all principles. As Peggy and I were speaking a little before, I find that the more that I delve deeper, more scriptural kinds of messages come to me from my early religious upbringing, whatever anyone's was, because all of the knowledge that our soul's attracted to comes from inspired words, no matter the time, the place, or who said them. And as it's recorded, when Cleopatra had the most sacred library, over 200,000 volumes that had been gathered, and Pergamus burned in one of her furies, there was great wailing, but the books were burned, but the ideas were untouched because they weren't bound to anything that was linear. So there's always a natural tension between our rational mind and our soul. Our soul is nonlinear. So we start to do some fourth dimensional things. It is not rational. It doesn't care whether what it wants for you is convenient for you or, hard for you. It knows that it is you, and its interest is in having you experience who you really are to your own delight. As Ernest Holmes said, we're here to express life. And so its tension with our rational mind is our rational mind has a knowledge base only of our experiences, what we might have been formally taught, other people's opinions, and it gets very uncomfortable with not knowing the answer. So if it's something new that your soul wants you to experience, your rational mind reminds you of all the times before that you tried something like that and they did not turn out well. And so that tension is always there. Yet the rational mind in its connection with law has a very definite function. When you're headed a direction, all of your skill, your knowledge, knowing where to get something, who to contact is put into play. But left to its own to talk about questions of life or answer those, it's not extremely helpful. So one of the little things we're going to do back and forth between our dimensions is if you want to just get quiet again and pause and just, close your eyes and just relax within. And just ask yourself, do you take the truth about yourself and others and the world from the world of appearances? Or do you take your truth about yourself and others in the world from the spark in the kingdom of heaven? Usually what we find is our rational mind first pops up, always wanting to be the first to answer, that its truth is taken about from the world of appearances, the third dimensional world that's linear, that's based on history. And it finds itself more at a standstill or a pause when you ask yourself if you take the truth about yourself and others and the world around you from the spark in the kingdom of heaven. It kind of pauses and it's like, where's the spark? I don't know where it is. Is it a lesson? Is it a saying or whatever? Because it is only within. And when we begin to really appreciate working with our inner wisdom, we find almost a sense of humor about how inadequate our mind is and how fragile it is when it doesn't know the answer. And so our task is always to reassure it that it doesn't need to know the answer. We're talking about two different things. It's so much appreciated for its rational abilities, but it doesn't help us where we need to go. So we're going to talk about your fourth dimensional faculties. So one thing we know in truth is that God or our creator is omnipresent, present everywhere, within everyone, everything, that it's omnipotent, all powerful. There is nothing that has any power to stand against it. It is all powerful. And it is omniscient, that it knows all things. And so it's the omniscient part that we're going to work with, that omniscience is not an intellectual concept. It's from, if you relate anything back to your scriptural training, it's the Holy Spirit that God will send in my name that will teach you things that you know not and show you things you've not seen before. It's the same from that source. The meaning of my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. My words are higher than your words. My actions are higher than your actions. And so in the meaning of omniscience, as we work with that, that faculty is within us, is part of our makeup to know all things, whether we've been taught them or not, to have the right words and actions be in play to bring about what it is we're manifesting. And so we develop a trust in that faculty, which is not of this dimension. And we learn to rely more on the fourth dimensional part of us, which is the vital part of us that is so alive, that is our divine. And we ask ourselves in doing that, do you trust the world of matter or do you trust the world of spirit? And I know myself too, for all my training, lots of spiritual training, when I sit down and ask myself that, sometimes I'm not so sure. and that's the place, where we want to be. There's also a fourth dimensional faculty we have called vision. Not seeing, with our eyes, our human eyes, but it is the eyes, the vision that sees beyond the eyes. And the great philosopher Hegel in his research discovered a truth that we always see towards something before our mind begins to perceive it. So we'll experiment again a little with that. Just close your eyes and get comfortable. And Just let come to your mind a person, an object, it doesn't matter, and just see what happens. So was what came to you an image of that person, maybe their face, maybe their object? Okay, there's that vision. And then try it with your upward vision, which doesn't mean you have to raise your eyes up. You don't have to look up, but in your vision, not your human sight, your vision, just sit with that again and just ask yourself, ask yourself again the question of deep questions of what am I? Who am I? And just let your vision just drift upward. Okay, so did a clear picture come to your mind? You did, that's good. If not, if it did, you can help me later. It doesn't always happen for me that way, but that's great. So that's, that's our vision as opposed to our seeing. So in this fourth dimensional aspect of ourselves, what we perceive is that when our vision is downward, it's into the world of appearances. And when our vision is downward, we're seeing everything that's wrong, everything we have to do, everything we are, everything we're not. And it dwells there, roams around there. When our vision is upward, it's disconnected from that. It may not bring any information. It may be only the sensation, which I'll tell you for me is a great realization that visioning upward, my mind didn't do anything. I mean, that to me was enough of a revelation. So it works in that way. So there are some helps we need because what we're working with is experiential. We want to know ourselves inwardly. We want to know the world we live in from an inward perspective. And we want to be in contact with what it is that constitutes our greatest expression, our greatest fulfillment. It is said that, when we say by the grace of God, wherever there is the grace of God, there is fulfillment. So it's living in that sense. So one of the most important to me and helpful and influential things is to have a community, live in a community. And that was my pestering, my colleagues in my community. Because if you think about it, if you want to discover more of your inner life and you want to know the questions about soul or God, and you're with your usual associates, or as one philosopher said, we're more like our associations than we are where we're descended from. So if you're sitting with them and you're saying, I'd like to talk about the meaning of my soul, and you can imagine, there you will believe you're in a different dimension. But we only learn in this experiential dimension from others, from great teaching stories like the legends, from conferring with our colleagues. What do you think about this? I'm confused about this. I have a question about whatever. And when you're in a learning spiritual community, that is a wonderful place for discovery. Because not only is it an open and safe place, but oftentimes you know the answer to something that's important to you just by hearing yourself ask the question. Because all that was needed was for you to put forth the question. Nobody tries to answer it. But the point is you've asked it. So my prayer for you would always be that you have this kind of community and place where you can explore those, because it is a joy. It is a real curiosity when you dig within yourself and discover what is there. Oh my gosh, the good things, the other things, but it is a joyful exploration with other people. The other places we experience it are in music, which takes us to another dimension, artwork that does that. I watch athletic things and cultural things I find differently as I've done this, more in appreciation of the individual. And if it's the Super Bowl this afternoon, more in appreciation of what it took for each of those individuals to be there. You know, there certainly was some vision, some passion, lots of hard work, probably times of discouragement, rejection, and yet something within them still strives to be their very best in that moment for themselves, for their team. And that is actually, believe it or not, their soul at the football game. So that will be going on as well. And so that is as much as I can come up with. I would much rather, when they ask me to talk about the principles and the laws and the things that are concrete, because this is, no one can talk to you about, I can talk to you about your soul. No one can ever tell you how your soul works, what it wants for you, except to trust that it is always striving toward your highest good. And if we want to take time after the service and fellowship, we can talk about all these things and ask questions and enjoy that time together. And the one question that we might think about in relation to this tension between your mind and your soul. So, of your mind and your soul, which is creative? Either, both, neither. And all of those are answers of discovery. So to just close with, again, our quote from our founder, Ernest Holmes, there is an irresistible, universal, and divine urge within us to be happy, to be whole, to express the fullness of life. And that is something only our soul in combination with our intellect can do. So if you were going to spend time reading, climbing mountains, going to the ocean, take a walk instead. Take the dog, get some coffee, do something that allows your soul the freedom to just be as it is. And so that is it for me. And we can ask questions later. We'll have time together. And so at least it's done. I don't know how it was for you. So now I do something here that's, do I do the mute? No. I need a lot of instructions.
So we want to thank Reverend Rita for that wonderful talk. And so as we continue through the Super Bowl of our soul, right? As we continue through our Super Bowl day today, let us just remember, as our theme for the month is, this whole thing about curiosity being your superpower. That's what we're grounding in this month, that your curiosity is your superpower. And like I said last week when we started this, how often do you activate your superpower? Do you sit around and look at other people's superpower and say, I don't have it, but you've never asked a question, you've never stepped into the curiosity? So that's what we're looking to do now. That's what we're looking to put in the ground, the seeds in the ground as the sun shines here in Denver today, and the spring within our soul begins to uplift. Take that with you. And so with that, let's just go into prayer. And so as we take this moment called now, where everything possible is just that, possible. There's no hindrance. There's no impediments. There's nothing that keeps you from answering the question or asking the question. We ask the question and we get the answer when we allow our soul to be free, when we allow ourselves to be open to that curious moment. Because there's one thing I know, and that I know for sure, that there is no place where God is not, and there is nothing that the divine inspiration of the Most High cannot penetrate. And so I know right here, right now, that each and every one of us are filled with that spirit, filled with that intelligence. And it moves out and connects to make a community, a world, a globe, a planet that is connected at the heart, that allows that curiosity to bring us together, to feed our souls, to uplift our people, to resolve issues. And we don't need to know how. We know that the spirit of curiosity will allow the right answer at the right place at the right time to emerge. And so I declare right here, right now, that today we will step into a vortex of curiosity, a vortex of inspiration, a vortex that allows us to walk by faith and not by sight. And so as we allow that to just sink deep into our soul and to activate every aspect of our being, we give thanks. We give this thanks for the remembrance of who we are. We give thanks for the idea that we have a superpower called curiosity that is always connected with the divine. And it is in that thanksgiving that I just released this prayer into a law that is infallible, a law that is already working before these words were spoken, knowing that it is activated in each and every one of our lives here and online and throughout the planet, wherever they feel this vibration. And so with that, I just release, I let go, and I know that it is absolutely so. And so it is. Amen. And so it is now that time for sacred giving. And so we are just so happy for everyone that's here today. And we want to thank you. And we are so grateful and blessed for your time, treasures, and talents that you bring to CSL Denver. We are a loving, growing community, and we invite you to be an active part of this community. We everybody is now coming back from the unmentionable 2 years that had happened before. We won't even give it a name. We won't even give it any power. But we know that right now is a time for rebirth. Right now is a time for awakening our souls and the souls of others. And we want to thank you for being here. So if you look across the screen, for those who are online, you'll see that there are the many different ways you can give. You can go to the website, hit the donate button. You can do text to give, or you can send a check to the P.O. box. But however you give, we appreciate it, and we intend to use it wisely as good shepherds. And so if it feels comfortable for you to place your hand on your heart if you have a tab, or just to send the spirit of love and repeat our affirmation during this time. This perfect gift is spirit and form, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Elzia. Just a few announcements to close us out. As we've been announcing as of the first of the year, Center for Spiritual Living Denver is meeting every Sunday in person, and we still have on Facebook and YouTube. So we would love to have you, if you're here in the Denver area, join us on Sunday mornings, and just know that that we're all here for you, with you, and we can be in community with you. And as Reverend Rita mentioned, you're welcome to stay after with fellowship and to discuss some of the ideas that she brought up and for us to share. And we also have had thank you letters sent out from our bookkeeper for those who gave last year, and either by email or by letter. If you did not receive this, or it's in your spam folder, first of all, check your spam folder. If it's not in your spam folder, please send an email to info@csldenver.org and just let us know you did not receive it, and we can send the letter. And if you would like to hear some good news of the world, to affirm the good in the world, we have a link on our Facebook page, which is Center for Spiritual Living Denver, and it's called "And Now the Good News." This program is put together by New Thought Media Network and airs on Fridays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, or you can watch these anytime during the week. Just go to the Center for Spiritual Living Denver Facebook page and click on the post that says, "And now the good news." And we've got one from, every week. So they're really wonderful programs. And New Thought Media Network has over 40 hours of weekly broadcast programs, including prayer time at 8:15 a.m. and p.m. every day, Wisdom of the Mystics, and Finding the Joy in the Journey, along with New Thought Radio, to name only a few. They have also recently added a prayer time in Spanish, as well as 40 Days to Love in both Spanish and English. We invite you to go to www.ntmedia.org and check out what they have. There's something for everyone. So welcome to 2023. We know it's just going to be a fantastic year for all of us. And we thank you so much for giving us your time. So let's close out with my prayer. What is it? Prayer for Who We Really Are by Chris Chickering.
This is a prayer for the love within us. This is a prayer to release our hearts. This is a prayer that we carry with us. This is a prayer for who we really are. We are light, we are sunshine, we are what we believe. We are hope, we are promise of everything that's yet to be. We are bliss, we are laughter, we are flowers in the spring. We are life, ever flowing, and these are the words that we will sing. This is a prayer for the love within us. This is a prayer to release our hearts. This is a prayer that we carry with us. This is a prayer for who we really are. We are strong, we are fearless, we find the comfort in our souls. We are real, we are open to the destiny that's ours to hold. This is a prayer for the love within us. This is a prayer to release our hearts. This is a prayer that we carry with us. This is a prayer for who we really are. We are here, we are present in every moment that we breathe. We are peace, we are freedom, and this is a song for you and me. Yeah, this is a prayer for the love within us. This is a prayer to release our hearts. This is a prayer that we carry with us. This is a prayer for who we really. This is a prayer for the love within us. This is a prayer to release our hearts. This is a prayer that we carry with us. This is a prayer for who we really are. Who we really are. Who we really
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Have you heard the big news? CSL Denver is growing. Join us, in person or online, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. In-person services are held at 612 South Grant Street, Denver, Colorado. Or join us online at www.csldenver.org. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. You are